So our speakers graduated in Business Administration, Finance, and Accounting from the University of Huelva in Spain, and graduated from the University of Tromsø in Norway, and with multiple international recognized certification such as ICEX or the Institute of Foreign Trade, Spanish Secretariat of State of Tourism and Trade. So his career focused in the area of application of education technology in industrial segments such as welding. So for more than 5 years, he is very experienced in working in the development and application of these technologies in leading companies such as Alstom or ThyssenKrupp and governments around the world, like the Australian and German one. So let us welcome Adrian Machas Lopez, the international sales of Siberia Soldamatic. Adrian?
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Chris, for the introduction. Is the sound going through? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is it going through the sound?
Loud and clear.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Before we begin, so can you please confirm how much time do we have so that both speakers can have kind of the same amount of time for the presentation?
Can we do it in 15 minutes?
Okay, cool. So I'll try to speed up some of the slides. Thanks, Chris. So to start with, let me just share my screen.
Sir Adrian. Sir Resan. Sir Resan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Tosh.
Oh, we can adjust to up to 20 minutes instead of 15. To give him ample time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Tosh.
Can you see the screen? Press.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So to start with, just very quick introduction on who we are, who Siri is. So we are a company based in Europe, South Europe, Spain, and we work in the development of different skills solutions, let's say, mostly for welding, both in manual, but also in robotic. We have a global network of more than 80 partners, and in the Philippines, our exclusive distributor is Hightech Power. And we work with approximately 700 clients around the world. And those clients are mostly in two different areas, let's say, of work. So we work with industrial ones, mostly in the automotive, railway, shipbuilding, and energy. So people like Volkswagen or Mercedes-Benz, etc. But also on the educational side of things or institutional side of things, if you want to say it. So we work with people like Well Australia, the German Welding Society, or TAFE, also in Australia, which is the Tibet organization of Australian government. So with those, let's say, organizations or bodies, we work for a couple of things, mostly obviously supporting them on the training, but also like for feedback. So we basically, let's say, collaborate with them to have their expertise and include it into the Soldamatic. So people like Well Australia or the German Welding Society are very much involved and aligned on how what I'm going to show you works in many aspects. Okay. So having said that, I'd like to just kind of talk a little bit about the 4 or 5 macro trends that we have right now worldwide and how those macro trends or K trends are related with robotic training or welding robotic training. So the first of them is the global shortage of welders. And that's something that we are not seeing only in Europe, even though I would say it's most significant in European countries, the US, or some countries like India, but it's basically across the world. Okay, so almost every country have issues, oops, sorry for that, they have issues to find the welders they require to keep on going with the industry levels they have. So give me login back again. So people like, or countries like India, or even in Southeast Asia, it is very noticeable that the economies of the world, of those areas, sorry, they're having issues to find the welders they're required to keep on going with the industry levels they need to go to basically continue with the economical development. And that is related basically with how we are not being able to attract enough people into the, say, welding world or welding career. Which basically touches many of the aspects we are going to talk today, okay? Now, the second big point, let me just share my screen back again. The second big point, which is actually related with what Stanislav was talking about, is Industry 4.0, which most of us are related or familiar right now. And that's basically how different technologies like augmented reality, automation, virtual reality, and others will impact in the industry, okay? And what happens is that these new technologies are not being, let's say, knowledge by a significant number of the population at this moment. We are not trained people on these technologies, on or how they affect the industry, okay? Now, a third big trend, obviously, is the post-COVID world. So the world that we will have probably in 1 year, 2 years. And how is it going to look like, and how is it going to affect to industries, and mostly for the educational, okay? Still, there are many countries, once again, not only Europe, not only Asia, that are in total or partial lockdown. So people cannot go to schools, cannot go to training centers. And it is kind of unclear what is going to happen in the few next months or even years, how, if there is going to be any change because of COVID on that sense. Fourth is the, let's say, growth of new markets or new countries, where probably the Philippines and Southeast Asia or Asia has a significant weight, okay? So countries like the Philippines are growing quite rapidly compared with European ones. And probably in the next couple of decades, we're going to see how those countries in Southeast Asia, etc., acquire a way higher level of economic, let's say, okay? So those countries basically need quite a lot of training right now, or skilled people to sustain that growth, okay? And they will need even more as they keep on going on the path, let's say, for economical development, okay? And the fifth one, and probably the wrap up for these key trends, is how robotics are at the end of the day the backbone of automation and the industry development. So there is, say, one big thing, which is that basically welding is behind almost any industry in the world and is somehow responsible for almost any economical development related with the industry. And that is linked at the same time with robotics. So how robotics are going to influence that economic growth, and how are they going to influence the companies to make it more proactive, more efficient, okay? But more importantly, how are we skilling the people or training the people to be able to get into that segment or area of expertise, okay? Which is not very, let's say, we are not paying too much attention worldwide to these segments. It's basically been done in the same way that it was done 20 years ago, okay? So to help with that, we have designed SOLDAMATIC robotics, which is basically a solution that works with, let's say, the same setup that you would have on a production site, but with the benefit of augmented reality, which is improved efficiency. So no cost on consumables like gases or wires, etc. But also way more control or way more vision on how things are going and the quality that is being provided by your program in the robot. Let me just play a video very quick.
Can you share the sounds, Adrian?
Okay, so how does this work and what are the benefits? Okay, so basically what we have, I'm gonna skip some of the slides to make it a little bit faster again for the time. Basically how it works is we have the Soldamatec, which to put it on very simple words is a welding machine that works with augmented reality. Okay, so you have, I would say, most of the real components. Okay, the machine looks like a real welding machine. You control it like a real welding machine, and the connections, more importantly, are all real. Okay, so the robot that you're going to use, you can use it with a Soldamatec or with a real welding machine. Okay, everything that you're gonna set up works exactly in the same way that on a real site. Okay. Now the machine is connected to the robot, which at the same time is connected to the teach pendant. Okay. And what you do is you program everything using the teach pendant as you would do again on a real production site. And the robot understands that you're working with a real world machine, but you're working with Soldamatec, which basically leads to two big benefits. One is that you don't have any consumable cost. Okay, so you can make as many practices or let's say do the program as accurate as you want it to be. Okay, because the Soldamatec is going to tell you how close the programming that you are doing is to the WPS that you put in the system. And at the same time, what type of quality are you getting out of that program? Okay, the machine will identify if you had any type of defect, okay, like porosity into your welding bit. And what is great is that once you have completed the program, okay, using the Soldamatec, you only have to replace the Soldamatec with your real welding machine, and you can replace as well the, say, plastic workpiece, like this one, with the real one, and you can weld it, okay? So, because everything, again, is set up and configured exactly as on a real environment, okay? So it's way more efficient, but not only in the way of cost, okay? So probably not only, the important thing is not only about the cost that you save on consumables, but also the time that you're going to save programming that robot, okay? Because the Soldamatec is going to help you to make it very much faster than you would do in the real life because you have all the guides, okay? So it's going to tell you very quick if what you're doing is correct or not. And also efficiency in the sense of quality of the welding bit, let's say, okay? Now the system is compatible with almost all machines in the market. So brands like ABB, KUKA, Fanuc, or Universal Robot, okay? And this is one example, which I think that for some reason the sound is not working. So probably you're not gonna hear the sound, but I'll explain over, okay? So you can understand exactly how this works. So this is one of our clients in Denmark, okay? And they were connecting a universal robot with the Soldamatic. Okay, so as you can see, all the setup, actually this setup was being used with a real welding machinery previously, and they just replaced the Soldamatic and the workpiece. Okay, and on the screen you can see the Soldamatic screen, let's say, and basically they have programmed using the same system. Okay, so in the teach pendant and universal robot. But what they achieve, once again, is that once they have the theme programmed, okay, let me just skip a little bit. You can see here the simulation, okay, that's being achieved with the robot and the Soldamatic, okay? So he's now testing if it was correct before striking the arc, let's say. And you can see also that from the Soldamatic, you can, let's say, set up the machine as in the WPS. So you can set up the jobs like the voltage, wire feed, etc., etc. Okay, and you can try, which is I think very interesting. You can test and see how different setups works on your working piece. So whenever you change the voltage, for instance, you can see the effect, let's say graphically, but also on the defects, etc., etc. So if you change, actually, he's doing that. If you change the type of voltage, for instance, you'll see if it's melting more material or less material, if you're getting more penetration or less penetration, if you get some defects or not, etc., etc. Okay, so basically to achieve the best possible quality. Okay, now once he's ready with let's say parameters, okay, he's gonna strike the arc. So once again, he's configuring everything, just start over and strike the arc. And you can see that over here, you have all the different guides that you have in the Soldamatic, okay? So what is great is that he's basically putting a WPS into the system, okay? And the machine is telling him if the program that he's doing on a real robot is correct or not, which in this case is practically perfect, okay? You can see everything is in green, okay? And with that, achieving the best possible quality or best possible outcome on the workpiece, okay? So when he has finished, actually he can replace that workpiece, okay, and place a real one into the exactly same spot and basically replace what the Soldamatic tip for a real one, a real torch, and use exactly in the same place, okay? Once again, which is another great feature, is that this is controlled or can be controlled, okay, on remote systems, let's say, or remote locations. So you can monitor everything that is happening through online stream applications, okay? So from the Soldamatic Learning, for instance, you can see exactly how some of your employees are programming a robot that maybe are hundreds kilometers away from you, okay? And you can see both graphically, so you can see this screen, but also you can see the, let's say, scores that he's getting, okay, or she's getting. So this is a little bit on how it works. I think I'm good on time. And once again, on this particular example, we're using a universal robot, but it's compatible with almost any system, okay? So including Yaskawa, ABB, KUKA, FANUC, etc., etc. Okay? So, oops. This was just one, let's say, practice case I wanted to share with you on how this technology, not only for robotics, but also for manual welding, can be applied, okay, into the, let's say, real world, okay? And it was a case that we did with the Jamal Welding Society, where they trained a group of refugees that were coming from different locations on the world and that they didn't speak either German or English into welding and get a job, basically get employable and skilled in less than 2 months, okay, with a way higher success rate and way faster than they would do into traditional welding, okay? So I think we're good on time. Sorry if it sounds a little bit speed up, but I think we're good. So any questions, please let me know in the chat box.
So thank you, Mr. Adrian Machas Lopez of Siberi Soldamatic. And
Thank you very much.
so, yeah, to introduce our